So yeah, I'll just hit record now. And
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, I was just talking about my super cursed fucking PC build that I was trying to avoid the Trump tariffs because fuck that guy. Stick. I did get stick. Hopefully PC build will be done. Yay, because I'm also getting into video editing work, and I just want to make sure I have the processing power.
Yeah. I have a working computer for editing and stuff. I've thought about getting into streaming, but I think I've decided I'm not going to stream until I can get a computer dedicated to it, because my computer is already such a nightmare workstation that, like, trying to stream from it would be kind of a headache.
Yeah, no, that's entirely.
It's already set up for video editing, music editing, transferring VHS tapes and, like, using 90s video editing equipment. Like, there's so many weird control stations hooked up to it. I just don't want to deal. I want one monitor, one computer. That's what I don't blame you,
like, at all, my dude.
But not speaking of streaming at all. Hi and welcome to Blank Bodies.
Ew.
Vampire the Masquerade V5 tabletop horror and podcast. I'm Hunter.
You are Hunter.
A host. I'm also joined by other host.
It'd be me, John. And you know, I just thought of it. Pretty much everything we do is a stream of consciousness.
All right, mage.
Oh, Jesus
Shit.
Christ.
Damn it, why would you insult me?
And I'm Sarah. Hi. Oh, this is my purgatory.
She's stuck with us.
I am. Oh, it's good. It's fine. I love you guys, but god damn it, sometimes things happen and I just kind of have to stare into the middle distance. Speaking of things that make me stare into the middle distance, Orientalism.
Oof.
Hey, well, at least we have a fun topic.
We have a fun topic. I mean, it's fun insofar as, like, how fucking stupid it is.
Yeah.
What it causes is bad and not a good time, but, in
Also,
preparations for, the deep dive for the Banu Hakim clan, I was like, hey, we're just gonna talk about this topic in isolation as to not make, doing the Banu Hakim episode fucking chunky and ridiculous. Because I'm already gonna have to talk about a lot of spicy things that have happened in the text, because some people made choices in the 90s, and oh boy.
Choices.
So, basically, we're going to talk about vampires. Much like any other horror icon, they represent a lot of cultural ideas and fears. So, in the lens of Orientalism, we're going to be talking about what that is, how it relates to vampire fiction, and how this relates within Vampire the Masquerade. So, you too can run a game and not be a dickhead.
Woo!
Woo!
Yay.
We love that. There's content warnings for xenophobia and Islamophobia, so if you don't want to deal with those topics, maybe circle back. Go listen to other episodes that we have that are lighter. You can listen to The Boys Avoid a Tornado.
Yeah, we have 115 plus other episodes that might suit you better.
Yeah, and that's valid. So, sources for this episode is V5 Player's Guide, Vampire the Masquerade 20th Edition. I also will be talking about Kindred of the East. I could never get away from the splat.
Makes sense, though, given the topic.
Yep. Also, we'll be talking about the book Orientalism by Edward Said. I definitely recommend reading that book if you get a chance to get it. It's an older book, so it's cheap as shit, which is cool. If you want to actually hear from Edward Said from the horse's mouth, there's a bunch of lectures and debates that he has done that have been uploaded onto YouTube, so you can get, like, directly from the author his interpretations on his own work, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah. It's also The Gothic by David Punter and Glennis Byron. I just really like that as a source book talking about Gothic literature. Also a relatively cheap book if you want a copy of it. Then I also read the essays Haunted Communities, The Greek Vampire, or The Uncanny at the Core of the Nation Construction by Alvaro Garcia Marin, and then Muslim Monster / American Hero, Sleeper Cell, and Homeland is the New Face of Fear by Teresa Culler Broyles. And then also I watched a video called An Atheist Visits a Mosque by the channel Heliocentric.
Nice.
That's a cute name.
Heliocentric's kind of a great channel for just, like, getting exposed to a lot of various subsects of Christianity, if that's a thing you're just curious about. Because the guy who runs that channel was a devout Christian, became an atheist. He is a metal musician now.
Oh, cool.
But he kind of, for a hobby, just goes to visit churches randomly and then audits them, like gives his review of the church experience.
Interesting.
And he's just kind of a hobbyist theologian where he's just like, I think religion's neat. I don't believe in God, but I just like going to other churches and just kind of doing reviews of the vibe.
I mean, that's cool. I can dig that.
Kind of cool. So, yeah, if you're somebody that's like, I don't understand all these weird subsects of this religion, he gives you some cool, like, reference material if you want to mine it for that. So, Orientalism, what is it? We've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes because it's just a thing that come up, but basically, Orientalism comes down to this idea of the East versus the West. So the Orient is a vague term to describe Eastern cultures. This can include an amalgamation of any of these, which will be Eastern Europe, North Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Oceania.
Oh.
Depending on somebody's interpretation or what cultural group they're focusing on, it'll be a weird mishmash of all of that, or only portions of it. That's kind of part of the problem with Orientalism.
This is just kind of vague.
It's vague and racist and stupid.
Yeah.
So in comparison, there is what is called the Occident, which is the Western cultural world, which will include Western Europe, the US, Canada, Australia.
Okay.
Occident.
Yes. That's supposed to be the opposite of the Orient. I just think the word referring to things as Western as Occidental
Hilarious.
is kind of funny.
Very, very funny.
It's like, oh, accident. It's an accidental world. And I'm like, yep, yeah. Whoops. Anyway, so basically, Orientalism comes down into kind of two schools of, like, major versions, and then there's, like, subsects further to get into it, because why would your racism just be normally plainly stupid? We have to have layers to the stupid. So there's Orientalists, and these are typically Occident, so Western scholars, adventurers, and ye olde weebs whose hyperfixation was the Orient. See, back in the day, when you were just, like, really into a culture, you just kind of were like, I'm a scholar! And I'm like, are you? Some of you, it seems like a scholarly, you're trying to do an anthropological, like, oh, this is neat. Some of it kind of reads like, almost like Anthony Bourdain travel vlog. Like, I just think this is cool, I like spices and coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of it is just kind of like yieldy neckbeards that just have a weird almost fetish, or like a weird hyperfixation distaste of another culture, and they're trying to justify it by like, well, I wrote a book.
That's nice.
I'm smart. I can write.
Yeah, so therefore my opinion is correct, and I'm just like, that's a wild take, dog.
That's what the book says.
Yeah, I'm just like, have you ever been to this place? And the answer is typically no, in the historical record.
Yeah, but I can cite my sources. Points at my book.
Points at my own book. Yeah. So artists and writers would often depict these cultural groups and regions, regardless if they have any experience with that in person at all.
Good stuff.
Let alone secondhand accounts. And a lot of the times these depictions lack any nuanced understanding of the cultures, which is wild sometimes. Like, if you get into art history or like historical literature, there'll be times where it's like, ah, yes, this traveler went to the Orient. And then you realize when they're talking about going to the Orient, they went to Turkey. But they'll describe things in Turkey that are things you're like, this is, like, not Central Eurasian culture things, like you're describing shit from China, or they'll be confusing Arabs and Persians and kind of lumping them all together as one mass group of people, or just like, hey, you're Muslim. And it's like, that guy's from Indonesia. It's, hey, Muslim. And it's like, yeah, but like, there's different subcultures and people.
No!
Yeah, just wild things where they're like mushing together things from like Egypt and like Kurdistan and stuff that you're just like, what? Okay, what? Like, oh yes, I've traveled to the exotic land of Morocco and I've done these paintings, and you're looking at it and I'm like, that's a thing from Thailand just chilling in the background of this Moroccan cafe that you've painted.
See, what they really did was essentially the lap around Universal Studios, where you just see all the countries at one go, and then, you know, the memory, because you've been drinking the whole time around, it gets blurry and everything gets kind of mixed together. Yeah. That's pretty much probably what happened.
Yeah, or just like...
Or they just kind of read a book about it at one point 12 years ago.
Yeah, some of the books get weirdly horny.
Yeah.
For reasons. Shockingly political reasons. These books are weirdly horny, because apparently every other Arab guy has a harem of like 47 wives.
Damn.
And it's a weird, like, bodice ripper, but there's no bodices because it's all belly dancer costumes, which I'm like, what?
Damn.
No one dresses like that, actually. I'm not kink shaming, but I am kink asking why, sir. So some of these paintings, some of them are gorgeous. Occasionally you do get paintings and books that are like good representations from Western eyes trying to look at other cultures historically. Not a good track.
Not
record.
great?
Not great.
Huh.
So they're more like fantasy novels than they are. Like, it's more like someone's fantasy about what a foreign land might be like than it is
Yeah, it's
any
kinda,
actual...
Yeah, like, I guess, like, a really good modern interpretation of this would be, like, Disney's Aladdin.
Mm.
Where, like, if you really break it down, like, the Aladdin film has, like, 7 different, like, Middle Eastern cultural things just slammed in there to one, like, mega city. And you're just like... So if you're, like, somebody from the area, you're just looking at going, like, that's crazy. Like, some of the character designs, it would kind of be the, like, American equivalent of a guy wearing, like, a business vest and a cowboy hat and then, like, a flannel tied around his waist. And then there's, like Inuit fur boots.
I'm not gonna lie, that does sound almost like an outfit I would have worn like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's because you went to a thrift shop. That wasn't you being like, I'm America man.
I'm America man.
There's just, you know...
I'm a cultural melting pot. That's what that means.
The world's most annoying superhero.
America man.
America man and the melting pot.
Oh, God. It just walks into everybody's home like he owns it. It's just demanding your propane tank leaves. Just destroys the economy of your house on the way out. So that's one part of the Orientalists and historical times. I just kind of refer to them as the art weebs, where they're just like, we have them now where people are just like really excited and their hyperfixation just things about like Japanese or Korean culture, but they've never been to Japan or Korea. They've never talked to these people. They just read a fuckload of Wikipedias and have really strong opinions, but they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And you're just like, what the fuck? But imagine some of those people are landed gentry, so they've been given the academic authority to just produce shit, and everybody goes, yeah, that makes sense. And we just did that for hundreds of years.
Is now where we insert a quick hang the landed class?
The landed gentry?
Yeah.
I'm not saying owning land is bad. I'm just saying capitalism's a problem, but that's a different episode. I have that it's on the production list. I'll get there. So the other part of the Orientalists, historically, that's a problem, are historians and early anthropologists that were trying to neatly classify and codify humanity, and they would try to write about these cultures as one massive block of people that are inherently inferior to their own culture. So it would describe these various culture groups as childish, hedonistic, violent, superstitious, exotic, and lacking any ability for self-determinism.
Whoa, what's the problem with being a little hedonistic?
Okay, so I don't have a problem with it. I am openly a hedonist. The problem is, when you're in a cultural group that is trying to prize itself on Enlightenment stoicism.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And, therefore, that means you being horny on main is bad, because then you're not enlightened. You're giving into your baser values. And so, therefore, we don't trust you to run your country. I should be able to run your country for you. I'm totally not exploiting you for your resources. It's fine. You wouldn't know what to do with them anyways.
Ew.
Yeah, it's super gross and weird. So it's a conglomeration of just, like, historians writing about things and also early anthropologists, yes-anding ideas that came from colonialism that built into eugenics and caused a lot of problems. So, yeah, when you get into writing things and people are describing one cultural group as being inherently inferior to another for whatever reason, question that very seriously, please. Because that's usually not true. It's usually, we're all just kind of a guy that just wants a sandwich.
A sandwich does sound good.
Fuck yeah.
We literally just all ate sandwiches.
We all just had sandwiches. Fuck yeah, sandwiches. We had our cultural classification of a sandwich. I had a pork tenderloin.
I guess I had fish and chips.
Yeah.
Is that like a British sandwich?
I don't want to engage the British right now. We're kind of putting them on blast with this episode.
Oh, whoops.
It's okay. I'm also British. I'm allowed.
I just don't want to touch the what is a sandwich argument with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I understand it's a cute, funny, ha-ha thought experiment.
Yeah, it was a decade ago, but
yeah,
the fact that it's still going on is nightmare mode for me.
It's nightmare mode, and I don't know, part of me is just like, hey man, there's actively fascists in my government. I don't give a fuck about this question.
Yeah.
We also have an episode about vampires and fascism that's earlier in the...
Yeah.
Check it out!
If you haven't heard that one, oh boy. So, the other part of Orientalists things, so we had the Orientalists historically, and now we have more, the critique of all of this with the book Orientalism. So this was written, as I said, by Edward Said in 1978. With Said being a Palestinian American, the work does focus primarily on Middle Eastern and Arab Orientalist problems. but the work itself has been used by other cultural groups to describe their experience with this phenomenon. So, I believe I've mentioned that previously when we were having to talk about the Kwaijin and other shit.
Yeah.
I will probably have to talk about it again when those things come up again. But that's the lens of the book, is mostly that man's experience and his cultural understanding. So, please, nobody do the, actually, this doesn't talk about the diaspora of Mongolians. I'm like, that's part of the problem with Orientalism, is it lumps so many people together into such a dumb fucking idea. To actually deconstruct the dumb fuckery of it is going to take several books and lots of hours. And I don't have that kind of time and money right now. So, and maybe, in some cases, I'm not the one you need to talk to about these cultural groups. You can go find people from those cultural groups to tell you about their experiences, please. Thank you. Okay, cool. But the main thing with the book Orientalism, there are critiques about it for the exaggeration and the homogenation of those cultural groups, assuming the Occident and the West are superior in all cases, regardless of what combination of the groups or how you're dispelling them. And also how these beliefs and cliches are weaponized to uphold systemic violence and exploitation. Yeah. I'm not going to go into the details of all of that, because there's loads of history channels, and you can actively just watch this happening right now on TikTok if you so desire.
Yeah.
I'm going to save your brain spaces and not talk about that. But the phenomenon itself does break down to, through these inaccurate representations, the Eurocentric identity is self-affirmed, while undercutting the ability and the right for the Oriental cultures to have any form of self-determinism. That's kind of the crux of the problem. And this is why when people say representation matters, like, this is what it matters. It's not so much the, we want culture to be woke and DEI because, money, or, we're being blackmailed by the globalists. I don't know, whatever dumb bullshit thing. It's when you have media representations that don't show actual truth of, like, how people actually are and exist, it forces an alienation, and it makes it easier to do shitty things to that group of people.
Yeah.
Ew. So again, I'm asking my fellow gamers, when you're in a group and somebody is like, I hate that they made this woman fat, or this lady's not hot anymore, why do they gotta make this character black, blah, blah, blah. That might be time for a pre-K pause and maybe ask, like, hey man, why are you so spicy about this? Like, what are you getting out of this? Why? What is happening here?
Yeah, she can be whatever you want in your fantasies when you get home, but that's the only thing that it affects, then it's not a problem.
They took away the cakes from this video game character I'm like, dude, you can make her so caked up in your own brain space. That could be an inside thought. No one has to know about that.
The imagination for that is not there.
Yeah, it's a lack of imagination. That makes sense. But then again, what's the website? The Rule 34 website?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it's called. You just look that up.
Just Reddit.
Yeah, probably just Reddit.
Probably just Reddit.
I thought there was like a whole site.
I thought there was a site called Rule
art.
34.
I would not be surprised.
I thought that's what I don't know.
I was just making the joke because Reddit is.
I'm just saying,
Reddit.
even if you lack imagination, you can find anything you want.
That's fair.
Yes, or you can pick up a pen and a pencil and get good.
I was about to say stick figures don't get people off that often.
Well, let's see. It's why that's. You see, look, this is how we Bethesda no-clip people into picking up doing art and fight the AIs. It's like, no, you don't get to jerk off until you actually get to learn how to figure draw.
Okay.
People gonna get real motivated.
Yeah.
Actually, real porn could be a good study case for drawing figures.
I have actually used porn for figure drawing.
Yeah. Easiest source of nudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do have to deal with potential warping of figures due to whatever camera lens is being used. A lot of people don't account for that when they're using photographs as references for folks, because so much of our experience now is digital. So we're looking at everything through a lens which inherently warps what the actual figure looks like. It's a whole thing. Hi, art person.
Oh, we'll save that for the Zemitsu episode.
I was gonna say, we'll save that for a Toreador Redux.
Yeah.
Fucking nerd.
I know. That's why we're here.
I was making warping figures joke, but...
Heyo.
Heyo. Oh, Zemitsu. Sweet little guys.
But yeah, to reaffirm the point I was trying to make is if a group of people can be made out as incapable of speaking for or governing themselves, it manufactures the consent of the viewing audience to step in as an imperial paternalistic power, which is bad.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing. Cool. All right. So now we're back to another round of the Sussy Baka representations in Western vampire media. Let's go.
Whee!
It's not going to be as spicy as the Blood Libel episode, which I did do. That is in the back catalog.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That was fun.
That was a one.
That was the one we did.
That was one that we did.
It was around the Nosferatu episodes because I was like, hey guys, I can't not talk about this.
That's fine.
It's quite literally an anti-Semitic elephant in the room. I gotta talk about it. But anyways, so, going back to the origins for vampires with the, Vrykolakas. I don't speak Greek.
Vrykolakas? I don't know exactly which one it is, but...
Yeah, so some of the earliest publications of this creature in any kind of literature comes from Antonio de Ferris' book, Ducito Gaiapgian? I don't know. I don't know if that's Italian or French. I don't know.
It's Japygiae, if you want to try and figure that out yourself.
Bless you. But this text was composed between 1506 and 1511 and was published through until 1558. So this creature has been documented as an entity for quite some time. De Ferris described the beliefs around the Virolakas as a folklore and superstitious thing, which is separate from the beliefs of Western rational enlightenment and medicine. They're just like, these weird little Greek peasants don't know what they're talking about. They believe in ghosts and shit. Fucking idiots. So, like, from the beginning, there's been this, like, assumed kind of Orientalist view of, like, yeah, I am clearly the smart man that know what to talk about because I got a ruler. And then these little peasants don't know what they're talking about because
they don't got a ruler.
They're covered in dirt and they embroider flowers on their skirts. Dumbasses.
Flowers are dumb. I hate them. I wish they were just gone.
Well, that's a werewolf plot.
I tried to help us out here. I looked up that Japygiae thing, see if I could find a pronunciation or like a little history of where that word comes from. All I can find is that the Japygid family, Japygidia, are a taxon of hexapods. So apparently there's some bugs that also have that name, but I feel like that's not at all related to this text that we're talking about. So...
I have no idea. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. So, along with this book, there becomes many other texts that are part of a cultural movement in the West to otherize Greece and the kind of Balkans region, basically the parts of Europe that have the Orthodox Church, to be like, boo, they're weird and dumb. They don't know what they're talking about, they're spooky, look at it. They got the shit all gilded. Look, they got their fake-ass Pope and their weird-ass hats.
I don't trust those hats.
You guys know they do Easter Mass in the middle of the night for like 12 hours? It's ridiculous. Yeah, Orthodox Mass for Easter is bananas. Start at midnight, goes to like 5 a.m.
Get it, guys, I guess.
Crazy.
Midnight Mass used to be a much more common thing. I know the church in town used to do it.
Oh, did they?
The big one? I don't think they do anymore, but I mean, maybe they do, I don't know.
A lot of them still do it for Christmas.
Yeah, that's fun. But, yeah, so basically, a lot of these texts trying to otherize this Eastern European bloc and try to shove them in with the Ottoman Empire. Some of it was because they were part of the empire. Other times it's like, they were next to Muslims. That's gross and icky. They're wrong. History is fun when you realize people are just being, like, really petty in the dumbest ways possible, and you just think about it like that. You're just like, they're, like, writing these prose, and they get to the end of it, and you're just like, you could have just summed this down to, ew. I don't like it. It's wrong. I'm just gonna tell people it's bad, and they have to believe me, because I own land.
Meh.
Oh, God, it's wild. So, I do want to note, over the course of these books being written where they're talking about these accounts of folkloric vampires, as this is increasing, vampires also become entities in Western literature as like horror characters, and that's kind of where this transfer happens in the text in history. But there is a shift from vampires being these like undead revenants of like your family members coming back from, you know, the dead to like rap on your door and be like, "Ayo, give me your blood. Fuck you.
Can I have some blood?"
Yeah, I'm totally not a symbol for tuberculosis. It's fine. Let me in. To these aristocratic authoritarians that are like horny, unmade, and deviantly sexual, and are corrupting evils and just inherently bad. So it's an interesting to watch that shift, while it's also paralleled with this idea of like Western countries are constantly asserting that like, I am good and correct and proper, and these people are icky and weird.
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to run their things because I'm clearly the adult and not them.
No.
And then just seeing that paralleled into how the monsters are written in literature is very fascinating, and you're just like, huh. It's almost like horror media is very important as a way of, like, kind of gauging the temperature of where people are in a cultural moment. It's almost like horror is political. I don't care what the guy that does the clown movie says. He's wrong. And I will fight him. But yeah, continue on. So through the centuries, the uncanny dichotomy of Greece being the seat of Western civilization while also being this otherized, ignorant, and superstitious culture becomes the fodder for academic mockery as well as the fertile grounds of early Gothic literature. So much of early Gothic literature is somebody went to Greece and then terrible things happened. It's wild how often it happens in really early Gothic literature. It's very funny.
I think you could take Stephen King.
Now Stephen King or coked up Stephen King?
Oh, not coked. An elephant couldn't take Stephen King on that. That was a lot of coke, man.
Yeah.
I think Stephen King probably would have just taken Stephen King in that fight, actually.
He might have. There's chunks of his time he does not remember. He was too powerful.
Yep.
Oh, God. But I do want to also note, there are contemporary theories now about Bram Stoker's Dracula being more based on the Irish myths around the Obertalk, which is like a vampire fae thing in Ireland.
Obertalk, that's a cool name.
It's neat. There's apparently a place in Ireland you can go to where they're like, oh yeah, that's the rock where Obertalk's buried. That's the rock. And you're like, are you sure? But much like the Irish like to do, they like to fuck with tourists, so who the fuck knows? It's like one of their favorite things. I was like, oh yeah, that's totally what's happening. Uh-huh, you want to give me €20? Which I don't blame them. It's totally fine. We too in America have roadside attractions. I do not blame you. But yeah, so if you're somebody who's really into like the history of Gothic literature, I could not find the article, but I had read an article right before I wrote this about apparently some nerds had gone through the university in Ireland that Bram Stoker was at when he was writing Dracula. And apparently they did have in the public rotations books about the Obertalk whilst he was writing it, so there's some pretty decent evidence now to the theory that might be...
At least partial inspiration.
That might be more of the inspiration for Dracula than any of the Vlad Tepes history, as been previously stated.
Interesting.
Which I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, Dracula is Irish as fuck, guys. Ew. But... that's in comparison to other early Greek or Gothic literature, which pulls a lot from the Greek and Serbian stories of revenants and all that kind of shit. So, Dracula is the big boy on the Orientalism vampire thing. There's lots of littler novels that may pull in these things. I could at some point write about the Orientalism problems in Blade 3 because they made Dracula very Middle Eastern for reasons I don't understand in that film. But, you know, that's that. I don't know if we want Sarah to do a deep dive on the Blade trilogy at any point.
I would.
I mean, I do.
Any excuse to watch them, I guess.
I guess.
As long as we don't have to watch that anime.
No, we don't have to watch the anime.
Was the anime bad?
It's mid.
Yeah, there's like the series of the Marvel anime versions of things. They were okay.
Okay.
The plot is bad, but the action scenes are cool.
Yeah,
and they actually get to them.
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's well animated, but if it's coming between Marvel and DC animated features, I'd much prefer a DC animated over a Marvel.
Sure.
But not the point. So, with Dracula from novel to stage to film, one of the aspects of horror of Dracula is constantly his character being inherently foreign. Not necessarily just out of time, but also just all of his cultural everything is just so foreign and strange, and that was part of his, like, spooky.
Right.
Because he's otherized very, very explicitly in ways that are coded very to that Carpathian Mountain, Eastern European Balkans, Greece block, and that's been a pretty solid staple throughout every representation of him. And like one of my favorite more modern examples of that is with Bram Stoker's Dracula done by Coppola. like, to add to Dracula's strangeness, that's part of the reason they got the costume designer they did, because she's a Japanese costume designer who has a lot of interest in, like, Western designs. But a lot of her costume designing for Dracula does pull very Eastern on purpose for that visual language to add to his othering. And this othering poses him as a very existential threat due to his strangeness of beliefs and customs clashing with, like, proper society. Which, when you're looking at at face value, just like, yeah, he's a creepy old guy being spooky and stuff, but it gets kind of insidious in ways that are not as intended, because you're reading it and going, okay, but this is a real estate agent going to a customer's house to get him to sign some documents, and he's going into his house and being like, oh, he's weird, he's got robes and a mustache and a swarthy complexion, and just, I'm like,
Swarthy.
Yeah, I was like, Jonathan's kind of being a little racist in a modern understanding of things.
Yeah,
It's like, it doesn't help that Dracula's actually a threat because he's a unholy blood-sucking monster.
Right.
But
that probably gives some pretty bad vibes, too.
Yeah, but he's also, like, the only guy you see from that culture outside of the Roma, which they're just depicted as, like, ignorant, sycophantic, like, caricatures.
Not helpful or useful or...
Yeah.
Well, they were very useful in
for
that
Dracula,
movie. For Dracula, yeah, which is kind of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh, no. So, I would say if you're doing a modern storytelling and you're wanting to pull from Dracula vibes and you're wanting to be like, this exotic, strange man, I'm like, you should probably have just a person from that region who's just a guy, like, in a tracksuit. Who's just chill. I don't know, just like... just like, yeah. My family immigrated over here from Belarus, and, we own this deli. I'm just a guy.
How's it going?
Hey, man. I don't know. I get stuck in this kind of weird, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying and appreciating other people's cultures. It's when you get into that otherizing it and making it inherently bad is weird. Maybe don't do that. But also, Dracula's inherently bad. Not only is he bad, the effects Dracula has upon the other characters also illustrate these social anxieties about cultural exchange. Because you have the transformations of the traveler or explorer into the other. Because, like, Jonathan gets fucked up.
Yeah.
By daring to leave England.
Yeah. How dare.
He get fucked up. And then, Mina and Lucy and everybody spends time around Dracula. And then they also get fucked up and they're corrupted and made horny. How dare they?
Dare be horny. There should be no fluids seeping about.
Yeah, so it gets this symbolic, like, fear of reverse colonization, with people bringing their customs and cultures and acting upon the homeland as a blight. And I'm like, yeah, guys, that has a different connotation. You're kind of looking at it as this is people writing a horror book where they're just kind of scared of people that just live next to Muslims. That's weird. Or they're just, Dracula's a prime example. I could go into more and more other vampire and horror things that use this kind of tropage of just a strange monster from a foreign land has now come and invaded my space, and now everything's evil and fucking wrong. Because they've dared to open a doner kebab shop. We just had sandwiches.
Please dare.
Please dare.
Please dare.
I love a kebab. So, all of that to get to Orientalism and Vampire the Masquerade. Yay.
Here we go!
So, these are issues we have discussed in previous episodes, and we'll continue to discuss in future episodes when they come out, but this is kind of a quick capsule review for people that just want a condensed run-through of the topic. So, the first and the biggest one is the Kuai-Jin!
Yeah.
So the Kuai-Jin are the block of all of the Eastern vampires that are stuck in this karmatic cycle of death and rebirth and are fighting demons and shit.
Theoretically, sounds kind of cool.
It sounds honestly metal as fuck.
Yeah.
But even just their term for them that supposedly in the text is how this whole block of multiple cultures with thousands of years of history all refer to themselves. Because the Western vampires call them Cathians, but supposedly the Kuai-Jin are all like, no, I don't like that. We refer to ourselves as this, but this name doesn't make any fucking sense. Because it slams together a Mandarin word and a Japanese word for ghost person. So I'm like, even the word they use to refer to themselves as two different language groups? What? I also don't know enough about like Mandarin and Japanese to understand the nuances of like how these two languages
might
interwork
intersect
with each other. I know that there's been like some characters that have been taken from Chinese, I believe mostly Mandarin, and taken into Japanese for writing systems, and there's a lot of complex issues between China and Japan due to reasons you can look up on your time with history documentaries.
There's a few.
But it's deep-seated and spicy.
Mm-hmm.
So it just
I feel like the quick solution there is just to say Kwaijin is a modern term that they've settled on.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of different ones. They decided to make it simple in modern nights.
Yeah, it's like I'm aware that in the canon, like the Indian group of the Kwaijin have their own like Hindi term for themselves. And I would assume every other kind of group would have their own in-language term for themselves. Yeah, it's just one of those...
Like how everyone else kind of finally kind of settled on K-Knights to some degree.
Yeah, kind of. And it's also kind of funny on that note of... for those who are aware of the bigger canon, when the mages get into fights with the Tremere, it's called the Masasa Wars. And Masasa, from my understanding, is an Arab term for vampires. So I would assume, possibly, Arab language vampires might refer to themselves as that.
Okay.
Maybe.
I know the Banu Hakim refer to themselves as the Children of Hakim. There's other in-canon words or terms for the Arab language groups of how they refer to their own clans and shit. Yeah, shockingly, different cultural groups have ways to refer to themselves in different ways. And sometimes when you put things into English, we just fucking botch it real bad.
Translation can be hard.
Translation can be hard.
Also, sometimes you just need to put a little bit of effort into it, though.
Yeah. I was like, don't just assume. It very much... literally, this reads as the joke from King of the Hill. Like, are you Chinese or Japanese? And I'm like... They answered the question by going, what if we just split the baby in half and do both at the same time? And I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. But I'm also neither Chinese or Japanese. So who am I to say? This just reads to me as, that can't be good. That doesn't seem correct. But I could be corrected by somebody else who actually knows. So hooray. But there's also a lot of things within the Kwaijin that when you read through it, it reads very, this was written by white guys in the 90s who did not have access to the internet. And we're kind of writing things based off of Kung Fu films.
Listen, Akira is great.
Akira is great. And I do love Kung Fu films. And a lot of the Chinese studios that did the Wire Fu films from like the 70s and 80s put a lot of work into those, and they're cool as shit. And being excited about those is rad.
Inspirational, even.
Yes, but, you know, I feel like if you want to write about a cultural group that's not your own, you should probably go find people that are in that group and be like, hey, man, I got this idea. Do you want to collab?
Saw this Bruce Lee movie. Would you say that that's accurate for all of your peoples? No. Okay, I gotta change some notes here.
Yeah. Okay, so some of you guys just go to college and have a day job.
Weird.
Neat.
Okay. I'll start scribbling in notebook.
Normal.
You're just a
normal
guy.
person. Got it. Okay. This is wild. This information I'm learning
You're just
today.
another person? Sick. Had no idea. So, with the clans, the two clans that I think deal with the most of the Orientalism are the Tzimisce and the Banu Hakim. The Tzimisce, insofar as it's the clan that fits that niche of Eastern European Orientalist tropes with being both foreign and familiar, exotic and archaic, and the origins of a lot of Western vampire mythos, but also being left behind by their sexy and suave modern counterparts. It's fucking interesting, because a lot of Tzimisce are just like scrungly little weirdos from the former Soviet bloc that just seem kind of left behind by the more modern interpretations of vampires.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just having that baked into the text is interesting, but I think just leaving that alone with no commentary or questioning it is a little fucking weird.
There's a little bit of that. There's a little bit, too, to the other half, we'll say, of the clan, who's, I would say, has become very modernized and is almost its own clan with the Flesh Warpers. I feel like they blend in, so to speak, much better with, like, the more, like, as you said, sexy, suave, modern vampires. It's more no, I am the land, and this is my land. We talked about in the episode. I think that kind of makes sense, though. Because they are, like, married to their land. They wouldn't have, like, left their more out in the middle of nowhere areas to be like, oh, I can go join this city with thousands upon people that I have to disagree with constantly about who owns this.
Yeah, I think there could also be something said about the Tzimisce, because they're often demonized in the text of vampire as being kind of like one of the more villainous clans, and having them with vicissitude being seen as like they are corrupting their own flesh and they're corrupting the flesh of others. So when you add that on top of just as like, well, they're not us, they're these weird outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
When you combine that together, it can lead to some weirdness, but also could be narratively really an interesting critique on like Orientalist literature and stuff. So it's one of those, I trust you guys to handle this responsibly, but there are some pitfalls just kind of baked in to just the way everything's written out. So just kind of be aware of that shit.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I get people are people, so I feel like just making everybody who has voice vaguely like this be bad guy, weird. Yeah,
not good.
No, I'll never forgive Disney for what they did to Jumbo. It's bullshit. First, they snatched Pleakley's fucking wigs, which is nonsense. Give that queen back her wigs. Two, making Jumbo the bad guy is bullshit. Did I bring Lilo and Stitch discourse in the middle of this? Yes, I did. I do not care. Anyways, moving on.
All right. I mean, I guess it took place in Hawaii.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems there.
Yeah, there's a lot of like settler colonialisms, and sometimes oceanic cultures get lumped into the Orientalist things, which is wild. With like, oh yeah, they wear like grass skirts and the women are topless and people just be fucking on the beach and eating coconuts and that's it. And I'm like,
you know what's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm like, there's more to their culture than just you gawking at titties and wanting coconut.
I hate coconut.
That's so sad.
Dude, I was in Hawaii at one point, and I had coconut off, I bought it off a guy on the side of the street, and he, opened it for me. And I tasted it, and I was like, okay, I know for a fact I don't like coconut now. I can't get a better coconut than this.
You're like, I've had peak coconut.
Yeah, I do not like it. I gave it to someone else. I was just like, here, you can have this.
I appreciate that you're just like, I don't like coconut over here. I'm going to go to the source of coconut before I make the final decision. You went, not my thing. And I'm like, there you go.
Yeah,
see, that's
needed to know.
Yeah, that's you fighting against Orientalist thought, being like, you know what, I'm gonna go experience their culture on their terms and then decide how I feel about this, which is dope.
Yay!
Yeah. Also, just listen to Native Hawaiians about visiting Hawaii. Anyways.
Huh? What?
Oh,
don't do it.
Oh, don't visit Hawaii.
It's complex.
It's very complex.
There's one of those, like, I don't want tourism to ruin the habitats of Hawaii, because that fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, pricing out the locals from their own fucking neighborhoods fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
there's one specific guy we could chase out and fix a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna
take one for the team.
I'm gonna pick up my Luigi button off the table and pin it to my shirt, and we're going to move the fuck on. Yes.
I will say, when I was in Hawaii, I found that at least most of the people that were living there that I interacted with that weren't white folk seemed to be pretty cool with people being on the island and like being tourists. They really didn't like the resorts and stuff. That's really what it seems like. So if you're going there to like visit and like go visit the rainforest and be respectful and
go to
be
local
like
cafes.
Right, support local businesses, do all of that. I think that that's not as bad of a thing.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, I am not Hawaiian, so don't listen to me. But maybe talk to somebody and ask. Because it's the resorts that are causing really, it's the military installations that are causing most of the fucking problems.
It's the resorts,
it's the military installations and the resorts that are causing a large majority of the
You mean the American military-industrial complex is yet again causing a problem?
Wild. They may have permanently tainted their only source of fresh water. With oil.
Of course we did that.
Yep.
Another great plot for werewolves.
Oopsie.
Hey, if you're going to be a werewolf ST and you don't know what to write for stories, just look up fuck-ups the U.S. military has done and just infinite plot.
I would say just look up news.
Yeah.
Infinite plot. So, all of us get to the Bana Hakim. So, the Banu Hakim fall into the niches around the Orientalized Middle East. Shocking no one, hopefully. What? So, there is this European viewpoint on the Middle East being infantile, superstitious, and barbaric. This kind of classic mishmash we have seen in films and books of, like, belly dancers, harems, religious extremists, so on and so forth. It's tiring and exhausting. There's been hundreds of years of this shit. It's fucking silly. We don't need to be doing that shit anymore. It's dumb. I'm not saying you can't enjoy Middle Eastern cultures. I'm actively encouraging you to do that, but, like, actually go talk to the motherfuckers.
That's fair.
Like, actually go to a Tunisian cafe and go get a coffee. That shit slaps. I have never had a Middle Eastern foods experience go poorly. It might at some point. I might have just jinxed myself on this episode, but, sorry. I had to move.
Can't believe you'd bump an empty guitar case.
I know, just nightmares. I'm making the editing worse. I'm sorry. Anyways, continuing on. There's also a unique American viewpoint of Orientalism on the Middle East, due to our engagements, due to economic exploitation. Because we don't have the hundreds of years of catalog that the Europeans do of, like, yes, we're doing academic research. I'm totally secretly not fapping to this. By the way, I am taking your land. America goes, ooh, rah, fuck yeah, explosions. Yeah, we're just taking your shit, dog. What of it? Burger King.
I know I'm American, but I guess I, like, prefer that. It's less creepy. It's far less creepy. Just be like, yeah, we blew up a couple things, have a Burger King. I'm not saying it's good.
No, it's
I'm
not
not
bad.
pro it.
No.
But I feel like that's better than, like, I'm gonna slowly steal everything you own while I write fetish material about me doing it. I feel like that's kind of, like, way more insidiously off-putting.
They're both, for me, it's equally insidious, just in two different fonts. Because, like, American Orientalism of the Middle East, we tend to not eroticize as much as, like, historical, like, European stuff has done. But we do otherize in a way that's, like, very violent. And just, you're like, what the fuck? Like, in a specific tone that you're just kind of like, that's insane. This has been going on since before 9/11, because shockingly, the US has been like, oil, for a long time. As long as we have wanted oil to make cars go vroom, we have been like, hey dog, I see you got oil in that sand. May I has, please?
You say no?
You say no?
Okay, I'll just take it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna scooch on in here.
Excuse me. Oh, pardon me.
Sorry. But a lot of this has been in the U.S. media as a very us versus them mentality between American culture and Muslims broadly. Because U.S. Orientalism, we're not specifically like fuck the Kurds, fuck the Arabs. Our thing is just the Muslims TM are scary and all Muslims are terrorists, but we just kind of lump them all together as one like hyper ethno-religion, which is, like, not how that works. That's not how any of that works. So it's just, like, it's... When you have even just the slightest more nuanced understanding of, like, Islam and, like, Arab and Persian and, like, North African cultures, when you go back and look at, like, pre-9/11 US media about the Middle East, sometimes it's wild. Where you're just like, what is happening? Though some of the wildest for me is still, I think was it Rocky 2, where we have a thank you card to the Mujahideen?
Yeah.
Yeah! Because we were like, fuck the Soviets.
I believe it's, this film is dedicated to the yeah, here, I got it.
Yeah.
It's
of course Hunter's got that on tap.
It's Rambo 3, and it's, this film is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan.
Yeah, so go ahead.
That was the original version. Apparently,
I'm assuming it's been edited.
It's edited to dedicated to the gallant people of Afghanistan.
Well.
Not the Mujahideen specifically.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So yes, for those who don't know, because some of you, time has moved on enough that there's a not 0% chance that some of our listeners were not even a sperm in their dad's nutsack when 9/11 happened, so they have no idea. Yeah, so before 9/11... In the 70s, 80s, when we were fighting the goddamn Soviets, America did a lot of this, things where we go, we don't like the Soviets. Hey, area next to the Soviet Union, what if we gave you a shitload of guns and money, and you fought for us? We're not asking.
Oh.
We can give you these guns or this money, or we can give you this bomb.
Yeah, so the U.S. had maybe... funded some religious extremists in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. They did win, but then those guys then had the training and the funding and the armaments to upend what was a relatively stable government in Afghanistan and has caused nothing but chaos for decades, and then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
We did kind of step on a urban legend landmine.
Oh, what is?
So I need to fix it.
Fix it, please.
So from what we can prove...
Yes.
It actually never said the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan.
Okay.
As far back as 1988, people have been able to source it, people discussing it saying the gallant people of Afghanistan.
Okay.
And the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan doesn't show up at all until 2015. This is I'm combining a couple different Reddit posts here.
Okay.
Of people trying to figure this out. But from what I'm seeing is that what people haven't ruled out, there are a couple screenshots that have the Mujahideen comment on it that float around the internet, but no one can source them.
Oh, okay. Hey, we're learning something in real time.
That may have been a meme that people just took as real.
Yes.
There are some people though who haven't ruled out whether or not that was changed for specific localization or
that
something like that. Mm-hmm. So it could be that
somebody had a regional like VHS,
and we haven't been able to track down that region for the people who know about this problem enough to look into it.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Hell yeah. I love it sometimes when we get to weaponize other people's autism. Ew, collectively we'll figure it out.
There are some people claiming that you can see the Mujahideen version in the non-American versions.
Oh, okay.
So it could be
just region locked?
Region thing. Okay. I'm not sure. But that is something to dig into more because I think that is
super fascinating.
Yeah, it's not fully a urban legend that we can say is totally not true, but there is a lot going on with it.
Okay, cool.
Probably needs more looking into.
Yeah, but all of that to say, basically, not all Arabs are Muslims, and not all Muslims are Arabs. Those are separate things. It's just where Arab people live, people tend to be Muslim. Kind of like how when you come to the U.S., a lot of people tend to be Christian. There's a lot of folks in the U.S. that are not fucking Christian at all. I am one of them.
Hey.
Ayo. Specifically within the Middle East, there is a wide diversity of ethnic group cultures, histories within the entirety of the area. It's like people have been living there for thousands and thousands of years. And there's been a lot of interesting things happening, and there's tons of like lectures and books that you can find about this shit. I've been trying to find films made in this region about their own history because I like historical dramas, like period dramas and shit like that. I think that's fun. Like, unironically, one of my favorite vampire movies is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's an Iranian vampire film.
That's a cool one.
It's dope as shit.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh my god.
I think it's on Shudder.
I think it's still on Shudder.
It was. I know it was.
I still don't have Shudder.
Oh my god, John.
I should fix it.
You should.
I know.
So, yeah. Yes, this unique American kind of version of Orientalism has been going on since before 9/11, but when 9/11 happened, we got real spicy about it in ways that going back and seeing not only just like the media representations of kind of these like Islamicate culture areas and how they're depicted in films is fucking wild. It's also just like seeing like news reporters and like man on the street interviews from around this time period about people from those regions is fucking spooky. Like I remember it being fucking spooky, but fucking the essay I read about this clipped a section of a Rush Limbaugh radio broadcast, which is fuck that man. I'm glad people pee on his grave. Actively, regularly.
Yeah.
But he's going on and describing about how Muslim folks like force veil their women and do genital mutilation and they don't like dogs and just like demonizing in a way that's like insane.
Like almost cartoonish.
No, literally cartoonish. Like that would be my, if I was storytelling, if I had a character pop off the way this man had about Muslim folks, that would be my storyteller kick the dog proverbial moment would be like, oh, this guy's not well.
He's a problem.
This guy's a problem. Oh no. But those like fears and anxieties and frustrations manifested really heavily in the media at the time. There wasn't as much vampire media, but a lot of tropes around what would be used in vampire media falls into like how Muslims are depicted in media at that time, which is kind of crazy. Where it's like they're all like inherently evil, they're all inherently the other, and there's no redeeming them, there's no saving them. You're putting them down as a mercy because they're insane. It's wild. And the othering that is done, it is very inherent to who that person is, as opposed to like, okay, this is a person that has like been put in a really tough situation, or they have cultural beliefs that are different in mine, and there's like a clash. It's just like, no, this person is inherently different from me, and they are inherently wrong. And I, Joe America, patriotic man, even though I'm doing horrible and terrible things, I'm doing it for freedom, and everything I do is inherently right.
'Cause freedom!
Yeah, which is like a wild, insane thing to just look back at, let alone having lived through. And looking at shows like 24 and Sleeper Cell and other shows that don't necessarily have horror monsters but have these kind of like scary like horror elements to them, and seeing how, if you look at the way they treat the Muslim characters and think of like vampire media, it like labels on in such a way that you're like, oh, that's freaky. Holy shit. Which maybe some of those cultural tones from that time period have mulled over into situations we're dealing with now, and maybe that has some implications on the way certain people are being treated right now. Again, going back to representation in media matters, because that changes your acclamations and your viewpoints on people in the real world, because you're kind of practicing them in media first. So yeah, that's an exciting thing. So all of that, oh yeah, and there's also another note I had based on the shows that brought up an interesting point, which is because Islam is viewed as like this inherently bad ethno-religion, there are shows and stuff that kind of deal with people being in and around Islam or converting to Islam, and the way it's described, it does almost sound like an embrace or like a transformation into being a vampire. And like, they've been corrupted by Islam. And it makes you this like inherently violent, barbarous monster that's just like a weird zealot that demands things because it has to be again, when you look at the parallels, it's kind of wild. And it's just like, what the fuck? Okay, that's interesting. I think someone should have gone to therapy, maybe. Which, if you do want a piece of vampire media, though, to try and turn this around to be not quite as heavy, that, like, subverts that in a way that I think is really interesting. The series Midnight Mass on Netflix.
I've heard that's good, but I haven't
It's
watched
really good. But yeah, one of the protagonists is a sheriff who moves to this little sleepy island town. And he's Muslim, and his son is Muslim, and he's having to deal with the cultural clash of being in a very, like, Christian community, and him being not only, like, the new guy that's moved into town, but also just having a different cultural background, and also being, like, I think one of the only people of color on the island. Mm-hmm. But he's actually, like, the actor for him's really good. The relationship he has with his son is very nuanced and interesting, and it's kind of nice being like, the good guy hero of the plot is a brown guy, and he's not toxic or weird, really, or not too bad. Not anymore outside of, I don't know, it's not exoticized, it's very, just, you're in a guy in his house, and sometimes they do a prayer because it's the time to do that. And you're just like, okay, cool, sick. He's a person. He's a well-rounded character. And then there's vampire cult stuff happening, and you go, oh no. And there's also kind of a hot priest. It's fine, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, no.
No, boo. Boo? Boo words? But yeah, all that to say, the Banahakim can be read as a kind of homogenous cultural group of literal self-righteous blood-crazed monsters. In a way that kind of parallels some of these really not great interpretations of Islamic cultures and Arab and Persian cultures just kind of in general. But we'll get into that in the Banu Hakim episodes. Ew!
Yay.
Yeah! I'm just asking, when you do these clans, make them more well-rounded as peoples. Because they're just a guy. But in an attempt to end on a more positive note, I pulled a quote from the Heliocentric channel on YouTube. The guy's name is Jared Smith. He's a very pleasant man. But I don't know if one of you guys want to read the quote.
Sure.
Yeah, positive note.
Positive note.
Off we go.
A huge part of that message is turn off your computer and go talk to people in person. Go to a church. Go to a Mujid. Talk to people, because we are hyper-curated timelines that are algorithmically organized to show you the worst and the curated best of people and create this totally unrealistic expectation of the normal people that you're going to find in everyday life. That's Jared Smith from Heliocentric. An
Yeah.
atheist visits a mosque.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can go visit a mosque or like an Islamic cultural center. It's chill.
They just peeps.
Yeah, it's like going to this community. It's like going to the Y. Sometimes they're just like, it's a building. There's some youth activities. There might be old people doing stretching. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's potluck on Friday.
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, even though we are a digital audio-based medium, turn things the fuck off and go outside and go talk to people, please.
Yeah, because how are you going to introduce more people to our podcast if you don't?
Exactly. How are you going to find people to trick into playing tabletop games?
Yeah, exactly. You can trick other people in the real life to enjoy your games and join this totally not a vampire cult that we are putting together.
No.
But to do that, you have to go outside.
Yeah. You can go and introduce people of all kinds of different cultures to vampirism.
Yeah, or, you get people from outside your normal spheres to enjoy games, and you get to hear their cool stories and their interpretations of vampires and being an undead monster or an angry werewolf who's too mad to die.
Too mad to die. Oh.
Yeah. God, I wish I need to dig up this video I'd found. It was really cute on TikTok. It was a black guy, and I guess he was just like walking down the street and he happened to walk past this park where there's a bunch of LARPers with like the boffer swords and shields with little capes and shit. And he's just like, man, look at them. They look happy as shit. With them with their swords and shields. Hell yeah, that looks great. I want to enjoy that. He spends like a minute or two just debating with himself.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, you know what, fuck it. Hey guys!
Yes!
Hey guys, can I join? And yeah, so they invited this random guy to like, yeah, you can join our LARP group. That's cool. And then I looked in the comments, and the guys who were in that LARP group found the video, and they were like, hell yeah, bro, let's go!
Yay!
And I'm just like,
oh, that's so cute!
That's super fun. Hey guys, imagine how much better things would be if we all just would hang out.
Yes.
Speaking of hanging out, Paralyze did our music.
Hey!
They're dope. You should give them $1 dues and engage with their work.
Yeah, you
it is
probably
good.
Should.
Yes.
It's true. It's the truth.
If you wish to engage with us and our work further, we do have social medias.
We do.
We have Instagram at Blank Buddies Pod. We have TikTok at Blank Buddies Podcast. We also have Blue Sky. Blank Buddies. You'll find us there. Also, if you just type in blankbodies.com, you have the linky doos to all of our stuff, and that first link is still the pre-orders for our first run of merch shirts.
Yes.
Yeesh.
So if you want to get the OG logo or the limited edition Thaumatusses, now's the time.
I'm not gonna lie, I was at work yesterday,
Yes.
and I was wearing our Blank Buddies shirt.
Yes.
And there were multiple times I'd walk into a room and be like, "Hi guys, how are you doing?" I'm absolutely, totally not wearing my podcast's merch today. I'd open my jacket and be like, "It's not absolutely available to pre-order on our website right now, blankbodies.com." I'm just saying, that's not happening.
Totally not.
Never
No.
once.
Yeah, do you want to be as cool as the guy who wrote 10 Candles? Because he thought the Thaumatussi shirt was cool.
Nice.
Also, check out 10 Candles. It's a cool game. Anyways, now that I'm done with the hawking, other hawking, we have a Discord, community Discord. You'll find the link for it at the blankbodies.com link. You can join it and hang out with other cool people who enjoy the show and gaming. Some of them run games in the server. People happy to talk about lore and mechanics and all sorts of cool shit.
Yeah.
Come hang out with us.
Yeah, and we have a new channel on there. I want to do even
Hell yeah,
more
do your
hawking.
shitty show.
We just launched a new sister show,
Mm-hmm.
Stinky Gamer Pleasure Dome. It's kind of like a book club, but for video games.
Mm-hmm.
We just announced, we did a little introduction episode to get things up, and we announced our first game coming out next week. We're going to be playing Blood, the original 1997 video
Hell
game
yeah.
on the
Is it
Duke
the-
Nukem engine.
Is that the vampire one?
Kind of. No?
Oh.
You're a cultist who's betrayed by the demon that you worship, and you have to fight your way
Cool.
through the hordes of the undead for revenge.
I was combining the anime Blood, which
yeah.
is about vampire. The lady, right? It was the lady with
Yeah.
the sword. And Blood Rain, which is a video game.
Yes.
I was combining those two.
Yeah, no, Blood is a separate thing, and it is, I'm going to say, honestly, a hoot.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Sneaky Gamer Pleasure Dome, for getting people to experience new kinds of video games that they maybe didn't think to check out
Yeah,
before.
it's definitely not just an excuse for me to get through my extensive backlog.
Not
on
at all.
Steam.
Absolutely not.
Um,
Hold on. Now I'm getting confused.
Mm.
Which is that one? Sorry. hey, this is going to maybe be talked about on Stinky Gamer Pleasure Dome, but here's an almost preview, not at all. What's that one video game that Bennett liked so much that you're in a farm and you're the first? It's like a first person shooter, very Doom-esque, and you're on a farm. You have to kill cultists. Maybe it's
Outcast.
Oh,
is it Outcast?
No, that
It's like
he's into more like boomer shooters, and that's not a field I'm super versed in, so I could
so
not
there are
tell
two
ya.
separate games that could be. Let me check here. I can always edit this down, but
Dusk.
yeah, Dusk.
It's
Yeah,
Dusk.
That's Dusk.
Dusk is fun.
Dusk is fun.
Hell yeah. That might be something you guys can bully them into playing for the Pleasure Dome.
Eventually.
And because we've been able to expand the projects further, we've only been able to do that due to viewers like you.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for giving us Patreon money. It has helped us to make the show better quality and upgrade our gear, and we're now expanding into wider projects.
Whee!
There might be some secret spite projects in the future. But I will say for those who are now able to buy tickets and things, Blank Bodies will yet again be at Gen Con.
Yes, we are at Gen
Doing a
Con.
live show.
Mostly live and in person.
Yes, the game wheel will be there. It will be reduxed for a third time. We'll see if I break it again. You guys can tell I'm a Bruja main because I'm constantly breaking cycles. It's a game wheel. I'm gonna die. Anyways, if you do a cool project and you want to talk to us about your cool projects, we do an interview series. If you hit us up at blankbodies@gmail.com, we would love to talk to you about your cool projects, whether it is LARP.org, you're deving your own game, you got your own podcast, we talk about gaming shit, do you do things in the community for enrichment like art and cosplay? I don't know, do you make fangs? Do you reprise old media onto forms of formatting that are strange?
That's cool.
Yeah, I fell into recently the guys who have been transferring very modern films onto VHSs for like custom projects.
Yeah.
Because what was the guy? There's a guy who's been doing these like fluorescent green VHS tapes for the Substance.
Nice.
Then
That's cool.
it's cool as shit. Anyways, yeah, BlankBuddies at Gmail.
I want someone to find this for me. I know it has to exist. I want someone, I don't know, finding like or putting the entirety of the Jurassic Park soundtrack onto wax cylinders.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people doing that. Oh god, I need to
Wait,
find...
really?
Well, not
On
Jurassic
wax
Park.
cylinders?
Yeah, not Jurassic Park specifically, but there's been a guy who, yeah, he has the equipment to like do things on wax cylinders. And he's recently just been taking popular TikTok audios and putting them onto wax cylinders.
I mean, I guess you can just do whatever you want. You
Yeah,
can just melt it down and make another cylinder.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
So I've just been giggling at this man putting on, that was rude. That was pretty fucking rude. Because the musical version of Death Becomes Her, honestly, though, pretty good.
Yeah.
Shockingly good.
Nice.
Anyways, we need to leave.
Yeah, we probably should.
You gotta put things in boxes.
I gotta do things. Like
and
put
you
things
gotta
in
do
boxes.
things. Like put things in boxes.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
And I gotta edit a secret project.
Secret. All right, well anyway, love
Goodbye.
you guys. Goodbye.
Don't be racist.
Yeah, don't do that. It's not cool. If
I
you
am
if
a
you don't
building.
do huh?
You don't remember that video?
What?
Never mind. Don't be racist.
Racist.
I am a building.
Yeah.
All right. I'll
Well,
see
this kiss goes out to all the not racists out there. Mwah.
Don't be racist.